Hey everyone, Hannah here again, and today I am talking about the class more broadly and sort of how things are structured. So I'm going to go over the syllabus. Y'all are adults, so I'm not going to read it verbatim because that would be very boring for all of us. But I will highlight some of the important things that I think students usually find helpful. Another thing I want to point out, a lot of the rules that exist in our class are things that I have put into place to provide structure for students, but there are some rules that are university-based that I don't have control over. So some of those things are the 14-page rule. For all upper-level writing-intensive classes, students have to write a minimum of 14 pages, double-spaced, time Roman font, 12-point font. So that's a non-negotiable. The way that I'm breaking down those pages this semester is you have a writing reflection paper due week 2, and then you have a final paper, which is a literature review, due week 6. And between those two assignments, there's a little bit of wiggle room, which you'll see here on the syllabus. I have a range, about 4 pages, approximately 1,500 words. Final paper, 4 to 6 pages, approximately 3,000 words. But ultimately, between the two of us, we need to ensure that you have written a minimum of 14 pages for this class. So that's one thing to note. Another thing, the university has started doing a new compliance checking thing where all students have to demonstrate that they are actively enrolled in a class, in a summer session class, by the second day of the semester. Not ideal, I know, but what that means is you all have to read the syllabus all the way through, and then you'll go down to the last page here, and you're going to sign this, and you're going to submit it on La Lima. So if you go to our La Lima page here, the submission is on here. I'll even go into student view so it looks the way you all see it. And if you go to just kidding. It's the Sunday before our class starts, so y'all can't see this yet. But if you go to the bottom of the start here, first page, the signed class agreement submission portal is right here, and you'll click on that and you'll upload this assignment by Tuesday at 11:55 p.m. Now, this can be submitted in any format, so you can use a PDF if you have Adobe, but if you don't, you can sign it however you want, hard copy if you have a printer, whatnot, and then take a picture of your signed agreement and upload that as an image. So there's a lot of flexibility as far as how you sign, but you do need to do that, and so there's a couple reasons why. One, it tells me that you understand what my expectations are based off of how everything is outlined in the syllabus, and you agree to those expectations. Or if you have any questions, you'll ask them at the beginning of the semester, and you'll have that clarification before we sort of get started. And then 2, I'm able to report back to university administrators that presumably all of you are participating and being active in this class. Note that they will drop you from the class if you don't submit this assignment and I have to report you as a quote-unquote no-show. Then you would get dropped and you'd have to work with your academic advisor to get back into the class. So that can be a whole headache. I don't want that to happen to anyone. Please, please don't forget to submit this assignment by Tuesday night. All right. So getting back into the syllabus. All right. Course learning objectives are here. My information, my email. I don't have an office on campus, but I'm happy to meet with students as needed via Zoom whenever you need. So feel free to email me at any point in the semester if you'd like to discuss assignments, readings, grading, things like that. These are university-wide policies that are taken directly from University of Hawaii at Manoa policies, right? One nuance there is my commitment to anti-oppression in the classroom. Do review this and read it all the way through. but I hope that this helps to provide an equitable learning environment for all students, regardless of the identities and the privilege and or oppression you might bring to the table. This is especially important in sociology and women and gender studies classes because we do talk about sensitive topics such as sexism, racism, and other isms. So be respectful of your classmates, and if you ever have issues or questions about this, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to talk with students one-on-one as needed. Similarly, please let me know about gender pronouns if that's something that you would like to discuss with me. This plagiarism stuff, again, directly from UH policies. My makeup policies are a little bit different than a lot of instructors, so pay close attention to that. But essentially, the weekly assignments, which are really just the discussion board posts and your one response to a peer, those you cannot make up once the week has passed. But there's an optional 6 discussion board posts that you only need to do if you miss a discussion post earlier in the semester. So if you get to week 6 and you've completed 4 out of the 5 discussion board posts so far, you would not be eligible for the full credit for that type of assignment. But if you complete week 6, which is optional, then you would be eligible for full credit. If you've done all 5, no need to do the 6th one, which will just give you more time to work on your final paper for the class. ADA stuff on Kakua. All right. This is something students always want to know everything they can, right? So this is how the grade breakdown goes for us this semester. You're working with 200 points. 25% of your grade is participation based, which is those discussion board posts and responding to your classmates. And about 12% of your grade is your reflection paper, which is due week 2. Your discussion leader project, which depending on which week you sign up for, will vary on the deadline, but that's worth a quarter of your grade. Week 3, you'll have your power and control wheel assignment, which I'll have a rubric for next week, and I'll also cover that in more detail next week. But that'll be worth about 12% of your grade. And then your final assignment is your literature review paper, which is worth a quarter of your grade. Do note that there are no exams in this class, so basically the way that it breaks down is your discussion leader project is supposed to represent your midterm grade, and then your final paper is meant to represent your final exam grade. And then there are some other smaller assignments built in as well. For details on what my expectations are for each type of assignment, you can see a detailed description here. For discussion board posts, there's not a rubric, but basically if you answer all aspects of the prompt and you respond to one classmate, you'll get full credit. Note that in terms of the deadlines for discussion board posts, your individual response to the prompt is due Fridays at 11:55 p.m. Then your response to your classmate is due 2 days later on Sunday at 11:55 p.m. That way, there'll be ample amount of time for you to read through everyone's individual post before responding. I've ran into issues where if I allow both components of the discussion boards to be due at the same day and time, then students all procrastinate and no one can get their peer response submitted in time. So that's the reason for the 2 different deadlines for that assignment. Discussion leader project information, reflection paper information, power and control wheel, final paper, course grade breakdown. So for this course, there is pluses and minuses, which I think may potentially impact your GPA. Details about if you need to be reevaluated on an assignment, which would apply to everything except for the weekly discussion board posts. Here's the class agreements. And then another really pivotal piece of information from the syllabus. This is our semester weekly breakdown. You can see I have the weeks here, including the dates, the readings you need to do, the topic we're covering, the weekly assignments. So this is just the discussion board post stuff, reminding you that your individual comment and post is due Friday and your response to your peer is due Sunday. And then these are sort of the big assignments, right? So your papers and presentations and projects and things like that. And these are all the deadlines there. And then I have some footnotes that are really quite important. So this first footnote just reiterates the fact that you do need to establish you are an active participant in our class by Tuesday night. And that's a UH policy that I don't really have any control over. Another thing to note is week 6 ends early. For whatever reason, our semester ends on July 1st, which is a Friday. That means if you do need to do the optional discussion board post 6, you need to have your individual response and a response to a peer submitted by Friday, July 1st at 11:55 p.m. Similarly, your final paper has to be submitted before the last day of instruction, which is Friday, July 1st at 11:55 p.m. so that I can grade it and you can get your final grade in the class. And then finally, just a reminder that the week 6 discussion board and your response is only required if you're missing an earlier week. And this says free write as well. In my non-summer 6-week classes, students have to complete free writes. You all do not have to do that, so that's a typo. If you have any questions or if that gets confusing, I'll just make that revision to the syllabus and repost it. But I think that is about all for now. One thing I'm experimenting with this semester is instead of having students respond to their classmates in a traditional way, if you would like to, you can actually respond to your classmate by creating a meme. So you read their response, something stands out to you as being quote unquote memeable, you know how to create a meme, you can do that instead of responding in a traditional way. If you have any questions about this option, feel free to let me know. Because we only have 6 weeks, it's not a requirement. So if you don't know how to make memes, don't even worry about it. If you want to learn how, I'm happy to meet with you on Zoom and give you a tutorial or show you an example of a meme I've created in the past. All right. And then just as a reminder for this week, you're in week 1. So you should be watching this crash course video, a lecture I'll be giving shortly where you can follow along with the PowerPoint slides. Here are the readings that you'll know match and align with the weekly course schedule. That's the very last page of the syllabus. I'm always eliciting anonymous feedback from students, and so you'll have a link to what I call an exit pass every week. This is week 1. Here's your checklist. Here's a place to introduce yourself. All right, so I guess I should have started here first, but alas, I did not. Just to give you a little background information about myself, I'm born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. I did my bachelor's degree at Ohio State University in sociology. Honestly, I didn't know what I could do with a BA in sociology, so I ended up applying to a master's program and got a tuition waiver and teaching assistantship at West Virginia University. And that's where I started teaching for the first time. I really loved teaching and realized I would need a PhD in order to do that permanently full-time. And so I applied to PhD programs when I finished my master's. And I ended up going to UH Manoa because it was the best program I got into, and my advisor is a very well-known, renowned feminist criminologist. But of course, no one believes that because they think that I just wanted to escape the cold, right? During my time in Hawaii, I've done a lot of policy work, which you'll see how I incorporate my knowledge of policy into different lecture material. But some of the things I worked on here in Hawaii were grad student unionization efforts, equal pay and the gender pay gap, and Title IX policy, which is actually what I wrote my dissertation on. So basically looking at gender-based violence and policy meant to prevent it within the context of higher education. which is where my expertise related to gender-based violence really come into play. I'm also a human, and I like to do a lot of things for fun, so I love going to concerts and seeing live music. I love going to the beach, seeing sunset, going swimming, camping, hiking, all that good stuff. I have a cat named Lila, who is the neediest, most cuddliest cat ever. And I like to hula hoop, which I think is something that usually surprises a lot of people, but especially my students. All right, so that's kind of what I'm looking for in terms of discussion board posts where you're introducing yourself. I'm looking forward to getting to know everyone. We are at an incredibly fast pace, trying to pack everything into 6 weeks. So stay caught up, and if you don't, email me as soon as possible. I am a human. I understand that life happens, but you need to be communicative with me if anything happens. And then finally, when you're submitting all of your discussion board posts, including this first week 1 introduction, be sure that you include your name in your post in the subject heading here, which I didn't do, which I'm not even going to explain why I didn't, but be sure to do that. That way it's easier for me to keep track of who's completed the weekly assignments. And on that note, I think I will sign off. I'm sure I forgot stuff, so if you feel like there's a question you have or something's missing from the introductory videos, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'm happy to go back and forth with you to give you clarification, or again, we can always schedule office hours via Zoom if that's also necessary. Have a great week, everyone.